The time is now 5 o'clock. I'd like to call today's Utility Service Board meeting to order. As a reminder, the City of Bloomington Utilities' mission is to enhance the quality of life in our community by providing safe, sustainable, and high-quality drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater services in a cost-effective manner, promoting public health, economic vitality, and environmental stewardship. If any board member has a personal or financial conflict with any issues or individuals on the agenda, then please be sure to recuse yourself during those portions of the meeting. First on our agenda is petitions and communications. Are there any petitions and communications? If you could state your name for the record, please.
Brian Obery with Green Dragon Lawn Care. If I can, give each one, so everybody knows what I'm referring to here. This is a contract last year that we had bid on. So, like I said, last year, this contract had gone up for a bid, and these are basically for various. I'm going to go ahead and read what I have here, otherwise I'm going to go off on a tangent. So this is basically the contract for last year, the substations, the water treatment plants, and water towers around Bloomington. Now, they had put this out 2 years ago. We bid on it. We got the contract, but it was only for 1 year, so they had to put it out again. I was trying to discuss this matter with the purchase agent again because before this was supposedly renewed. I've left voicemails, and finally I'd sent an email, and over the past month still didn't get a response except for I did get something from Chris Wheeler explaining the renewal process, which I knew about, but we also have a lot of work we do with Parks and Rec contracts, basically the same contract, and every year they still have to bring it before the board even though it's a 3-year renewal. So I was waiting for that to come about so I could bring this up before the contract expired. But from what I understand in this process, it's an automatic renewal. It does not have to go before the board again. So that left me with, I don't know where to go from here, but I was really trying to bring up some problems I saw with what was going on with the current contractor. There was a lot of bad communication last year between myself and the person in charge of it, and that's why it was really late for it to come out. It didn't come out until, that wasn't signed until May. So I understand that there was a lot of time there where that contractor was kind of, trying to make up for it. I really had reservations on the ability of the contractor to perform the work proposed in the bid. We had one contract with the previous year, but the contract was called for an additional 10 properties, including the service center and landscaping as well as snow removal. Obviously, our price went up from the year before, but the current contractor had their price pretty much the exact same that we did. I can't read any more into that, but during the course of the year, I observed the progress of the contractor, and it seems that they're having trouble getting started and keeping up with the mowing. We currently have contracts with Parks and Rec, and some of these substations are adjacent to the properties that we maintain, so I see what's going on. I think at the point I was bringing forward is the work performed by the current contractor may not be up to par or standards with the specifications of the contract. I was skeptical of the pricing that was provided and felt due diligence into the scope of the work was probably not performed by the contractor. This is what led me to keep an eye on the properties. In my opinion, as a professional in this field, there was not a reasonable effort to do the work. I've also reviewed as much as I am the billing for the work and the timing of the work being done. At a minimum, I felt the best to talk to these people involved, but I just couldn't get a hold of anybody. I just don't feel like there's adequate oversight on the work that was completed, performed at reasonable standards. The previous year that we had the contract, I believe the managers at the 3 plants were asked either by email or verbally monthly when we would send the invoices if everything was okay, correct, and if there's any problems. I don't believe that was done this past season. I have not been able to see a detailed copy of the invoices for the past year, but I am able to see some of the dates that do not match and are not in compliance with the contract. And one particular is the dates of December 20th of 2024 for the week of 11/10/24 to 11/17. The amount is about double what a weekly mowing for all those properties would be, and it seems that they would have had to mow these properties twice in a week, and that is much later in the season than you would normally mow. A couple of those invoices are also for February of 2024, which was before the contract even started. That may be an error. It's just very late in the season for them to come out and try to make up for something that they weren't able to do earlier in the year. Normally in the contract, it starts April 1st and it ends in October 31st. At this point, I'm not sure if rebidding is an option, but what I'm really asking is that the contract would be held to standards that are laid out in the contract and have some oversight. I do understand that the scope of things with utility grass mowing is not high on the priority list, but I feel that sometimes these things easily can be done with the right contractor in a consistent and timely manner, which we have proved that we could do. The whole idea of hiring an outside contractor is to eliminate having to use internal employees to maintain these properties. And if that had been done or had to be done, I feel that they failed in what they were supposedly trying to do. At that point, like I said, I don't have any recourse on if they're going to rebid it. I just would like somebody to take some sort of a look at what's going on here and make sure that they're being held. I granted that the current contractor is the largest in the country. I mean, they're not a small business. I'm pretty sure they are bringing down most of their people from Indianapolis. Maybe they just can't keep up with it. That's fine, but at the end of the day, they put these contracts out for us, for people to basically take care of it so they don't have to do it in-house. And that's about all I have for that.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Board members, do we have any questions or comments or?
And I'm not sure, I'm sorry. So last year I was with Jose Fuentes, but the year before that it was, I'm not sure what was James Hall. Mm-hmm. So it may be a new person this year. I don't know. I've never been able to actually get in contact with Jose. So that may be just an error on their part. Maybe there's somebody else doing it. Maybe it's just gotten missed somehow. I just know that what we can do and what we have done in the past is, it shouldn't be an issue here. And the current contractor, in my opinion, is not really fulfilling the contract.
Mr. Sherman?
Do we have any feedback about the quality of the mowing that's taken place over the last season?
I don't have any. Nobody said anything to me. Good, bad, or indifferent.
The best people to talk to are the 3 people at the plants. They're the ones that would probably have the best grasp. I don't know if there's anybody call in for the substations that are throughout the city. I did get one person that called because they thought we were doing it again. We did it the year before and wondered why things weren't getting done, and I told them we weren't involved with that this year. But some of these are right next to residential areas. Some of them are in Hyde Park. They're really small, but they do need to be maintained.
The person that called you, that was a person, like a residential person, or that was
Yeah,
someone
that was,
from?
no, that wasn't anybody. That was just somebody. They had seen us the year before doing it, and they just assumed, hey, why aren't you guys doing it again this year? and I said, we're not in contract with them this year. You'll have to get with the city about that.
Gotcha.
And, you know, like I say, a lot of these properties that we're right at, next to where we currently mow other places, and you can see that it's not getting done. Like I say, I understand that's not a big thing for them, you know, a lot of other things that's a higher priority, but it should be done correctly. And there shouldn't be an issue with having internal employees having to go out and mow when they have better things that they're supposedly doing.
We get some feedback about the, you know, the quality of what's been done over the last season.
Sure, yeah, we can look
Okay.
into that and check in with plant superintendents.
As well as, I was wanting to see how much we've allocated. I mean, what was spent on that contract. I've slept since then, I know I missed a board meeting too. Did we approve a new contract with, was it with Brightview for another year? Or that's upcoming?
I thought it was
This is an
for
automatic
3
renewal.
years, right?
Okay. But I'm confused because I don't have, I apologize, because I don't have all the background material on this. But it says the expiration of the contract was, with the information that Brian has provided to us, that the expiration of the contract was February 28th, 2025, which we've passed.
March 1st, 2025.
Except that it also says there is, on a renewal date for the contract, it is none.
There's none.
Oh,
And
yeah.
That's why I thought it was going to get brought up before the board again.
Why was
And
that?
I wasn't under the impression that we, that we did, automatic renewals. There was some sort of end date on them. I mean, I'm just a little confused.
So Chris can explain it better.
Hi, Chris Wheeler with City Legal. I don't know what you have in front of you. I haven't had the opportunity to review it. The contract terms were for a one-year term with 3 automatic one-year renewals.
Okay, yeah,
I don't, is that the memo that goes as, that's the cover memo.
Yeah.
The cover memo is inaccurate. The actual contract had 3 automatic renewal terms. Automatic means if we don't terminate it, it just automatically rolls over to the next year.
But there was, what I'm hearing you saying is that there wasn't, it's not like an unlimited end.
No,
It was it's
it's
a
3 more
3-year
years.
term.
Yeah.
And this 2025 will be year 2.
This is year 2.
Okay.
Yes.
Within the contract, if the provider doesn't provide good service, we're still stuck with 2 more years
No, we can terminate.
for cause.
We can terminate if we don't like the way they tie their shoes. We can
Okay.
just
Yeah.
terminate it just because we don't want to do it anymore. We can also terminate it if we don't have any appropriation for the next year.
Okay.
But if we are happy with their services and we don't terminate it, it automatically renews.
That's why I'm asking
Yeah.
for at least some evaluation.
I would expect that the utilities department is aware of whether the grass is getting mowed
Sure.
Okay.
and whether the purchasing department should renew or not. I have no idea, though. I'm
Yeah.
not there to see that.
And if we could just have staff report back on the expenditures that we've had and see if everyone's happy with the work at the plant or if there have been issues.
I can remember back to November 10th. But that does seem sort of late in the season for services to increase. So I think as of right now, we need to gather some information, unless
Yeah.
there's any more questions from the
Yeah,
board.
with the invoicing, it seemed like they were very late in the year. I've been doing this 29 years. That's very late to be mowing,
Right.
especially doing it twice in 1
Well,
week.
but if we had to do leaf removal, because that is part of,
That's not in it.
okay, because
But-
I know I had leaf removal
Yeah.
fees for properties in November, so I don't know, but
It's
it would
the
be good to,
same- the same contract that we use with Parks and Rec. They've basically taken the Parks and Rec contract and copied it on this. And this 12 years we've been doing work, Parks and Rec. I get it. That's much higher visibility. I held to a little higher standard. Not everybody's going to complain if the water treatment plant doesn't get mowed every week, but it still has to get done. And the other places that are adjacent to somebody's property, they shouldn't have to deal with it or call in. So I just don't think there was really a lot of oversight. And it's an easy thing to do, to go out and say you've done something without,
Mr. White?
Yeah, and who on the staff supervises the mowing contract? I know it's not really a plant, so it's not in T&D, and so, you know, who,
Administers the contracts.
well, you can't, the purchasing agent isn't gonna drive around all these sites, so.
No, but they actually made the contract, and they work with operations and TD to make sure all of the sites are included in the contract. So the purchasing is more of an administrator getting it through the process.
So that means that several of our ADs or departments that would be responsible for making sure that the services were done satisfactorily.
Yeah.
Okay? That's hard to keep track of. Yeah. And I can understand your point, sir. If someone saw your trucks before and said, hey, why aren't they mowing? And they call you and say, and you have to respond, you're not doing it anymore, and that flags you saying, hey, something's not working. Yeah.
We do a lot of work for Parks and Rec, Switchyard, a lot of properties, a lot of parks. There is some trust you have to gain with the contractor. It's going to get done. Nobody's going to check every park every week, but if you go somewhere and it's obvious that it was not been done, then that's something that needs. There are things within that contract. You have a one-time, if something is an issue, it needs to be brought up as an official. They meet together, you discuss it. It gets, however that, and then if it comes up again, it's goes a little more, and then third time could be termination. So within the contract, it says there are certain, but you have to hold them to it. You can't. I get it. Like I say earlier, of all the things that they have to do with utilities here, getting the grass mowed is, not the highest priority, but I know that it can be done. I've done it. This is what I've done for 29 years. We're good at it. We did it the 1 year. We ran the contract out. We ran every bit of it. I think we did a good job. We do. That's what we do. So whether this contractor is serious about it or not, I don't know. I can't speculate. But I do think they need to be held to some standards.
I just want to say thank you for bringing this to our attention. Regardless if it's our top priority service or, just something routine every week, for paying for the service, it is something that we want to receive. And so I think that we've requested our team to get back with us, and maybe that's an opportunity for us with this next year to, introduce some different checks and balances. I know in my personal neighborhood, we have a HOA and we have a neighborhood contracted mower, and I would be like, man, it's been 2 weeks since they've been here, and then we call and they come right out and we get that addressed. And so, if we're paying for the service, then we want to be receiving it. So we appreciate your time bringing that to our attention.
Okay. I appreciate you giving me the time. Okay.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Are there any additional petitions and communications? All right, the next item on the agenda is a bid opening for the Pigeon Hills Sewer Lining Project. Caden.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Caden Swanson, Utilities Engineer with CPU. I'm here to introduce Ian Scott with GRW, who will be opening the bids for the sanitary lining project. I've put a sheet in front of you if you would like to follow along.
Thank you. As Caden says, my name is Ian Scott, and I'm project manager with GRW. I'm going to be opening 4 bids for the Pigeon Hill sewer lining project. The first will be from Performance Pipelining. Okay. All right, their first bid is for $809,118.00. That is for the base bid of Performance Pipelining. And for the alternate is for $55,260.00. Moving on to the next one. Thank you. This is from Inliner Solutions. Okay. So for Inliner Solutions, their base bid is for $807,245. And the alternate bid is for $39,480. There's Inliner. All right. The next is for in situ form. Okay. Okay. So for in situ form, their base bid is $774,750,000.27, 774,750 and 25 cents. Sorry, what? Sorry, 27 cents. And their alternate bid is for $48,388.20. All right, last one. This is for SAK, S-A-K Construction. Of course, this one might be the toughest one to open. There we go. Save 20 minutes on opening with that little device. Okay. And their base bid is $851,043. Or $851,043, 851,043, and 0 cents. And their alternate is for $34,740. And those are the 4 bids that we received.
All right, thank you.
We'll take these into consideration and advise advise the board.
All right, appreciate you.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
In my experience with bid opening, we've always had a USB or a utility staff member open the bids, and so I just wondered
Oh.
why you did.
I guess I've done it in the past.
Okay,
I
I've
actually
just
did
maybe
it
not
at last
been-
year's.
Been here and missed it or forgot.
Okay, I actually
Thank
did it
you.
at last year's,
Okay.
but, okay, yeah.
Okay, no, that's great, because you work for GRW.
That is correct,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, thank you.
I just have another question. Maybe I missed something, but I thought we were doing these bid openings at a special session with one member present. Is this unusual in some way?
There was just a little bit of oversight on this one.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you both. Okay. Moving along to the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I move approval of the March 10 minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussions for the minutes of the previous meeting? All in favor of approval? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Moving along to the approval of the claims, beginning with standard invoices for a total amount of $2,541,659.54. Are there any questions on the claims, on the standard invoices?
I had a couple. Okay, thank you. First, on page number 5, Northern Safety Company, Inc., for the electrolyte drink mixes for $1,698.58. Which is a coincidence because the invoice directly above that is also for that exact same amount. But I just wondered, are these like individual packets that would like go into? Yes, they are. Okay, thank you. Is that a coincidence that it's the exact same dollar amount than the one ahead of it?
My guess is they come in standard sizes.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
I mean,
Yeah. What I'm saying is they buy like a box of them, is what I'm
No,
saying.
it's the exact same amount as the BOD and bacteria testing above it.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
we
Yeah,
should
that's
play the
coincidence.
lottery if that's the case.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I got the nod from James that that's what that's for, so I guess that seems like a correct price for $1,700 worth of drink mix. Yeah?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
could you just like double check that before we send the check to make sure that that's the right amount? Thank you. My other question was on page 6 with Service Express Inc. for the CBU portion of Power Edge. And I just wondered, what is that and who's paying the other portion? Page 6, Service Express. That's all right.
Is that,
Well, these are the Service Express, this is laptops.
Okay.
So
Who is the other, like, who else is paying into it? Would that be the city or?
Usually how it is the city, like ITS buys these things, and then we just pay the invoice directly. So
Okay.
the civil city will pay the rest of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any questions?
I had a question on page, sorry, I stapled it. Page 2. I think that's page 2. That starts with Casey Jones. I think that's the right one. I think I just stapled these wrong.
Yes, that's
Page
page
2. A question about our interdepartmental agreement. It wouldn't be a board meeting if we didn't ask about that, right?
yeah.
Really just a curiosity, approximately 85% is associated to wastewater and only 15% to water?
So what we're doing this year is we're paying all of the wastewater one in one lump sum, and we're gonna pay the city 4 payments for the water one over the course of the year, one for each quarter.
So this will be the only payment,
So this will be the only payment that we see for wastewater for 2023, but we'll see 3 more payments for water over the course of the year. We're not paying water in one lump sum, we're gonna spread it over 4 payments.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that helps. Thank you.
I just need to note, I'll vote in favor of the claims except for the two of the claims on page 4 to Indiana University for wastewater sampling. There's two of them there for that wastewater program that we had in place last year. It's about $5,000 or $6,000 worth. So I'm recusing myself from those votes. We'll note that in the minutes. And with that, unless there's anything else, I'll move approval of our claims for today's meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Standard invoice passes. Moving on to utility bills for a total amount of $235,673.45. Are there any questions or comments on the utility bills? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Utility bills?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Utility bills are approved. Next are wire transfers for a total amount of $522,094.31. Any questions or comments on the wire transfers?
I move approval of wire transfers for March.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Wire transfers are approved. Finally, we have customer refunds for a total amount of $6,034.87. Are there any questions or comments on the customer refunds?
I move approval of customer refunds for March 28th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Customer refunds are approved. Thank you all. Moving on for the approval of a consent agenda for a total amount of $101,302. Catherine Zager.
Hi, good evening. I'm Catherine Sager, Utilities Director. I'm presenting tonight's consent agenda totaling $101,302. The first contract is with Kokosing Industrial Inc. for $12,101 for the repair of piping at the Russell Road Booster Station. Next is with BL Anderson Company Inc. for $20,000 for on-call agreement for the chemical feed systems, pumps, and variable frequency drives. Next is with Affordable Fence Inc. for $20,000 for on-call services for fence services. Next is with Jasper Electric Motors Inc. for $20,000 for on-call services for electrical and generator services. Next is with Potomac Electrical Testing Services LLC for $20,000 for on-call services for electrical high voltage service. Finally, we have one with Thermo Electron North America LLC for $9,201 for a service plan for the ICPMS. Is there any member who wishes to consider one or more of these items individually? Hearing none, if there is no opposition, these items will be approved as recommended by staff. Hearing no opposition, the consent agenda is approved.
Thank you. Item number 7 is a request for approval of Resolution 2025-04 to designate surplus property as worthless. Daniel Frank.
Assistant Daniel Frank, we just have another list of items that needs to be designated as surplus, and we can dispose of it. Everything on that list is computer hardware that's just aged out and or broken. So.
Any questions about the equipment designated for worthless, as worthless?
I move approval of Resolution 2025-04 for surplus property.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Request is approved. Thank you. Item number 8 is request for approval of change order number 1 to Public Works Agreement for site safety and process improvements at Dillman Water Treatment Plant. Mark Menifee.
Hello, Mark Menifee, utility engineer. I'm here to ask for approval of a change order for the Dillman wastewater plant, site safety and process improvement. The original design for this is to replace all of the suction piping on the 6 pumps in the main headworks building. And after this design was finished, we had, which was in response to a failure last year of the piping, we had a failure in the discharge side of 2 of the pumps. In other words, we believe this is just abrasive hole that's been formed in the pipe. So we're going to replace 2 elbows. The cost for this change order is $36,430. It's with Kokosing Industrial, and they will fabricate 2 new elbows, which are 18-inch elbows, and have a couple days of labor to replace those. There'll be no added time to the contract, and the change order is $36,430.
Are there any questions? We have a motion for approval.
Yeah, I move approval of the change order number 1 to the improvements at Dillman.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank
It
you.
is approved. Thank you. Item number 9, request for approval of Public Works Agreement for the Monroe Water Treatment Plant, chemical feed line, and backwash pump replacements. Dan Hudson.
Hello, I'm Dan Hudson, Capital Projects Manager for the City of Bloomington Utilities. 2 weeks ago, I came to the board and requested a Resolution 2025-2 for approval of the bids for Thieneman Construction to reconstruct the chemical feed lines and chemical distribution at the Monroe plant, and also add a second backwash pump. Today, I want you to consider the contract for Thieneman Construction to do this, and that is for $4,732,000. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Do we have a motion for approval?
Yeah, I move approval of the agreement for the Monroe Water Plant chemical feed line replacements.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. It is
Thank you.
approved. Request for approval of First Amendment to Agreement for Street Sweeping Study. Elizabeth Carter.
Good evening. Liz Carter. I'm the MS4 Program Coordinator. I did want to mention there is a slight typo in the cover sheet that was included in the packet. That says that we have requested to extend this contract through April 30th. We are requesting to extend it through September 30th. So the contract was originally set to expire at the end of February. Due to no fault of our contractor and more like weather for us, we haven't been able to collect enough street sweeping data for them to give us a final report. We had snow and ice during the winter, that kind of thing. So we want to make sure that we can give them good, consistent data before we ask them to give us a report. For that reason, we didn't want to rush them and try to get them done by this spring, so we extended the contract out 6 months so that we know that Second Nature will definitely have enough time to compile a final report that they will come present to you all when they are done. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Liz? All right, thank you. Do we have a motion for approval?
Yeah, I move approval of the agreement for the street sweeping study.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. It is approved.
Thank you.
Moving on to old business. Any old business from the board? Any old business from staff? New business. Any new business from the board?
I have something that I'm just a comment. So I'll just say it. Okay. So a comment on the mayor's comment to the city of Bloomington's appeal to the Indiana Court of Appeals ruling against the city in the waiver case. And I'm not trying to like be a pot stir or anything. I just want to make sure that, okay, I'll get to it. Sorry. The mayor said annexation ensures that those who rely on city services fully contribute to the actual cost, creating a more equitable and sustainable system for all. So when I'm thinking about the CBU with our equitable and our actual costs, county residents pay the actual cost of service. I'm going to confirm that, and then knowing that we're looking at a rate case, then make sure that that's taken into consideration. Because as a county resident, I want to make sure that I'm paying my part, and whatever that is. So just since that was a statement in the city's appeal, press release, I guess, then I just wanted to make sure that when we're looking at the rate review, that we do consider what are the actual costs for serving our county customers on both water and sewer, and that is accounted for accordingly. Thank you.
Any new business from staff? We didn't have any subcommittees today. Staff reports.
So we have some congratulations in order, and this also hits on, you had asked for some updates from the conference in French Lick, so this will hit on that as well. So our first congratulations goes to Utilities Specialist Drew Hayes in T&D for earning his CDL. And then I wanted to recognize that at the Alliance of Indiana Rural Water 2025 Spring Conference in French Lick, our staff won 2 awards. The first was to Kaylee Klassen, our Assistant Superintendent in Dillman Road. She was recognized as the Apprentice of the Year. Kaylee completed the 2-year apprenticeship program with high honors, thus earning the award. Also recognized during the conference was Frank as the Administrative Professional of the Year.
Yet, Frank.
Frank was recognized as an administrative employee with outstanding performance in office management and procedures. That's my staff report. Rightfully
Yeah.
so.
We obviously get to work with Frank often, and so we see it, daily or weekly, however often you're in communication with us, but it's nice that you're recognized too, so congratulations. Congratulations to Kaylee as well. I know that was well deserved. Awesome staff report. Any additional petitions and communications? Do we have a motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.